Hey guys, Ryan here, and I just got done watching the final race of the Florida Swing. We've got Homestead Miami Speedway this afternoon, and yeah, so this was a very exciting race, to be honest, all the way through and through. Never really much of a dull moment. Now, granted, that was probably due to the names at the front. Again, we had the potential of some surprise winners, and ironically, the quote-unquote surprise winner that won wasn't the most surprising option we could have gotten. Of course, today's winner, in case you guys didn't see the race, top in the charts at the end was William Byron with like a 3.5 second lead. Very impressive day for Byron, but early on it looked like the storyline of the race was going to be Chris Buescher as he went up past Keselowski twice for the race lead and ultimately went on to win the stage after passing Martin Truex Jr. late in the stage, I believe it was, or was that Chase Elliott? He passed so many of the fastest guys for the lead throughout the race. Ultimately, though, got sent to the rear on a bad pit call throughout the middle of the race and just got stuck in the 20s, ultimately finishing 19th. So his day went from good to not great. Actually went to right about where he usually finishes. No slight to him, but Roush has not been that great. And although the other Roush car did manage to stay in the top 10 most of the entire race, and Newman ended up ultimately finishing 7th. So, great day for the Roush family, guys, and let's hope that it's not just a fluke and that we can see them do that again at Las Vegas next week. Kind of the two guys coming into this thing that I think everybody had their eyes on, you had Reddick and Larson. They were the two coming into this. They were the two coming into this day that were pretty much 1 and 2. They were your top two picks. Most people, I think, had Larson over Reddick. I personally felt like Reddick was going to be the slightly smarter one. Typically, Larson doesn't usually think through what he does all that much before he goes and does it. Ultimately, I was right. Reddick finishing 2nd, Larson falling all the way back to 4th with MTJ as the buffer. To be honest, though, the three of them could have finished any which position because they were dueling it out for the spots there at the end of the race. Harvick, a quiet 5th place finish. Didn't ultimately get to do much, but a solid 5th place finish. That'll help towards building for a potential playoff run. And I say potential because we now have 3 winners who were all either on the outside looking in on the theoretical picture, or you had them in situations where the guys just were not going to be. Either they were on the outside looking in, or they were right on the cut line where it's like, okay, maybe you could put them in, maybe you could put them out. But now Byron adds his name with Bell and McDowell to the list of guys who will be in the playoffs, assuming that they all maintain top 30 in points, which I think should be doable. Going down the list, one of those winners that we mentioned, Michael McDowell, a second 6th place finish, so first 6 and 6. I don't think anybody can really say at this point that McDowell is not, at the very least, deserving of a shot at the playoffs. Now, granted, again, he could still fall off the map once we leave Florida. I don't really see much evidence of that. I mean, we've got Las Vegas next week, which will be another test. Then we go to his home track in Arizona with Phoenix. But yeah, I really just don't see too many tracks upcoming that are direct red flags. I mean, Las Vegas hasn't necessarily been the best, but he has gotten some okay finishes there in the past. Then, of course, as I mentioned, Newman 7th. 8th was Kurt Busch, another solid day for him. Alex Bowman in the 48, and Kyle Busch getting his first top 10 of the season. Now, granted, he was significantly behind when it came down to the race win, but hey, in some cases with Kyle Busch, he just needs to get his head in the right place, and hopefully a top 10 can start to mount a respectable season for him. And certainly it could also help him with getting a better starting position for this next race. Then if we look outside the top 10, notable names, we got Denny Hamlin, 11th. Austin Dillon, 12th. Stenhouse Jr. was a big surprise there, up in the top 10 most of the day, and ultimately fell back to 13th. Chase Elliott, 14th. 15th was Suarez. Suarez was another one that was impressing me late in the race, up in the top 10. Just ultimately started to lose grip in the car and fell back. Keselowski had to make a late race pit stop and ended up falling out of the top 15. Most everybody else on back. Bubba was pretty quiet today. Custer had to come for a last minute pit stop as well. Logano had a late pit stop. Jones had to make an extra pit stop. Matt Benedetto had an issue. Ryan Blaney and Eric Almirola got tangled up together late in the race, essentially ending their two shots at good finishes. And then Corey LaJoie had an engine explosion, which ultimately led to the end of his race. So yeah, definitely an interesting race, and one I really enjoyed watching start to finish. You had pretty good passing action all the way through. I mean, obviously it was probably highlighted by the fact that we had out there guys like Buescher up there pretty much for the entire first two stages. He was in contention and leading the race and potentially going on to even win. I mean, I think a lot of us thought he might legitimately go on to win the race. Okay, so yeah, so outside of that, I think the other things to look at, first off, Miami is like the best track on the circuit the way it is now. I certainly hope they don't change it anytime soon. The racing today was pretty much as good as it could have been. Maybe a little bit, and this is my personal opinion, the top line was maybe a touch too strong. But I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. That is actually something I quite like in a lot of racetracks. I just kind of hope that the inside line is more than just a last-ditch diving option to try and get alongside somebody. But it definitely is a characteristic of Homestead, and I'm not saying it needs to change. Then looking at the top 10 on the fantasy chart, because again, I've been enjoying doing this for the Running with the Pack Fantasy League. If you guys have the NASCAR app on your phone, look up Running with the Pack in the league section, and you can sign up, and you can get into the Running with the Pack League, and maybe get talked about here on the channel here in a week or two. Next week, obviously, be in Las Vegas, another mile and a half. But yeah, so topping the charts, it was actually a tie between myself and Warrior. Another one of the drivers from the Thomas Cup Series. So both of us getting a 208. GL Racing getting a 203. Ian Farm with a 195. Eric Anderson, another solid finish there with a 192. Keystone Guy having his first respectable points finish of the season, and I think he'll agree with me that he has not particularly done well this season, but 199 for him, or 191 for him. Steve Dyer with a 185. Amy Dyer with a 118. BJ's goes both ways with a 182. That was a 182 for the last one as well. Dave Bird rounding out your top 10 with a 179. So yeah, so solid points days for a lot of them. Actually, kind of a bit of a letdown there with one of our guys who'd been in the top 3 coming into today on the overall standings, being so far down the list, and actually multiple of them being so far down the list, because Bobby Bird isn't. I didn't even mention him, but he finished 11th as well, and that being 2 of your top 3. So yeah, definitely a hard day on the fantasy charts for some of these guys, but let's see. I'm glad I got the win in that, but yeah, so William Byron taking the bright new Exalta machine to victory lane, and to be honest, I'm excited to see what this brings for the playoffs, because obviously that now makes 3 drivers that are now locked in on points, or locked in outside of the potential that they fall out of the top 30 in points. So we'll have to wait and see who else joins that list. Again, this is going to start to put some pressure on guys like Hamlin, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson too, though. Kurt, a lot of these guys who usually can either point their way in or maybe get a win. Like, they've had seasons where they go winless. Definitely get a little bit. Everybody, the pressure is just going to go up a little bit each time there's a new winner, or at the very least a new winner this season, and especially when they're from right around that cut line. I mean, last year Byron was on the outside looking in going into Daytona when he got his first ever career win. And now he's got a second win. I don't think he's going anywhere. I've heard some people saying that, Byron might not be sticking around too much longer at Hendrick if he didn't get winning. Now he's winning. I don't see him going anywhere. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion here, talking about the Dixie Vodka 400 from the Homestead Miami Speedway. Certainly not as tragic a night as last night was, when Noah Gragson got robbed of a win, just kind of from a completely random racing deal, because you had David Starr on the lead lap running 13th, trying not to go a lap down, but also trying not to mess up the leader's day, and what looked like blowing a tire. Gragson said that, he didn't blow a tire, so we don't really know what happened. It looked like a blown tire, and it ultimately, what happened, and Gragson ended up crashing out of a potential win. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new so you never miss a Running with a Pack episode or other content on the channel. I also live stream constantly throughout the week. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you decided to do with the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye!